In 2020, Free League Publishing released Alien, the RPG, a game that was built upon the Year Zero engine, but with some additional features. The starter set featured Chariot of the Gods, a starter adventure that tasks the PCs with exploring a derelict ship, but of course they're not alone. The second adventure, Destroyer of Worlds, has the players taking control of some colonial marines as they are sent on a mission to find some other marines who defected. But of course, things go south very quickly. Finally, in Heart of Darkness, the players take control of scientists as they crash land on a prison station turned into a research station, only to realize that the station and most of its inhabitants have turned into something monstrous and wholly new. Wait a minute. These adventures are just going through all the... So here we have the Heart of Darkness box. So let's read what's on the back. The company found a new life form, and they want you to study it. Their offer is uncharacteristically generous. You catalog this organism, determine how they can use it, and bring it back so they can slap their patent on it. Fairly routine stuff. In exchange, they'll hook you up with a cushy corporate department head position, secure you a book deal, and make sure the institute of your choice gives you tenure. Did I mention the money? There's a lot of it. Simple survey, sample, and analysis job. Seem too good to be true. 'Cause, of course it is. Heart of Darkness is a complete cinematic scenario for the Alien role-playing game, written by sci-fi novelist Andrew E.C. Gaska. It is a standalone adventure, but also serves as a conclusion to the Draconis Strain Saga, begun in the cinematic scenario Chariot of the Gods and continued in Destroyer of Worlds. The scenario is designed for 3 to 5 players, plus the game mother, and is a spiraling descent into soul-crushing madness. Well, that pretty much does quite sum it all up. I can attest to that. So let's see what's actually in the box set itself. The game comes out with 2 sheets of handouts. They are titled Clark's Report. We have the Post-it, the Network Exchange, and then the Serum Analysis. So your players can discover these around the station, and some of them are way more important than others. So if your players don't find it, they're kind of screwed in the end. So, yeah. There are 2 maps included. The first map has the Cartagena on one side, and this is going to be the ship that your characters come in on. And then on the other side is going to have the Chiron from the USCSS Cronus. There is another map, and you can definitely see how big it is on the screen right now. It is absolutely massive, and it is double-sided. So on one side, you have the station, I think there's like decks A through G or something like that, and then the other side has the rest of the decks, because yeah, everything on this station is available to your players, and that is absolutely awesome. There are 3 different decks of cards included. So the first deck is going to be the personal agenda deck, and each of the PCs have 3 personal agendas, 1 for each act. So your characters are going to have an Act 1 agenda, an Act 2 agenda, and then finally an Act 3 agenda. These really reflect the characters' motivations over the course of this scenario. So you might start off thinking that, you know, this one wants to discover something about the Draconis strain, and then by the end of it, they're just trying to screw everybody over and just, you know, turn everybody into horrific monsters. There's another deck with 4 cards for the equipment cards, and I think these are just new equipments that you can find throughout the station. And then there are the story cards, and these are really just the infection cards. These will also reflect a character's deteriorating mental state. So like paranoia, someone or something on board the ship is out to get you, because at some point in the story, you are going to have your character start rolling an NDD roll, and you'll consult the table to see like just how crazy they are going to get just by being within close proximity of this black hole. And then there are the 7 pre-made characters. The characters in this scenario are a mix of scientists, spies, androids, the captain, and the security detail. Sajad is the team's security detail, the only soldier in a ship full of scientists. Sajad's personal agenda is pretty straightforward: protect everyone at all costs. Lark is the team's android psychologist, but they are also there to make sure they stay within the company's lines. I should also point out that since Lark is an android, they are immune to the psychological effects of the black hole the station is researching, but not the new alien infection to be encountered there. Ejiri serves as the medic for the team. He is literally the guy who is just about to retire, sorta, but has to do one last job for the company. He also wants to make sure everyone alive on the station gets out alive, so the company can't pin anything on him, but by the end, he just wants to destroy all the aliens, so it's okay. Draconis was a UPP child prodigy before she attended school elsewhere. However, the UPP is also forcing her to steal valuable data pertaining to something called Ironfish from the Erebos database. Navarra is the scientist of the team who specializes in identifying and altering the chemical processes of living things, or at least that's what everyone thinks. In reality, the real Navarra is dead and has been replaced with a UPP spy who is supposed to shadow Draconis and make sure she makes it out with valuable information and a sample of this new hive weapon. Lugar is the Cartagina's captain. Her whole thing is that she's looking for information about her supposedly dead great aunt who perished or went missing on the science vessel the Cronus. By the way, this is the same Cronus from Chariot of the Gods, and we kind of all know what happened there. And then we have Hedenstrom. Hedenstrom is another scientist for the team. He worked for a shadow government bioweapons project, modifying xenomorphic life forms via genetic accelerant called the 26 Draconis strain. He wants to progress everything on the station and let loose this new hive mind upon the universe, even at the expense of humanity. So, with the cast out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the actual Heart of Darkness adventure book. And as you are going to quickly see, the quality of this book is highly subpar. The glue binding actually came apart when I opened the book for the very first time, and I'm very disappointed at the deteriorating quality of these products from Free League. I've even noticed that one of my Dragonbane books from the box set was already losing its binding, so I actually sent it into the local print store today before recording to get a special spiral binding. And actually, here it is right here. So, nice spiral bound for this book. So, I'm guessing I'm just going to have to start doing that for all these Free League games now, which is another expense. Aside from that, everything else in the presentation department is spot on. Gustav Ekelund's illustrations are on point. As a point of reference, they shared illustration responsibilities alongside Martin Grip in Destroyer of Worlds. I just wish there was more illustrations, particularly concerning some of the unique aliens that you're bound to encounter on the station. The book is very easy to read, although it is sometimes hard to tell what you should read to your players and what's just actually part description, because it kind of is the same font. It's just slightly italicized in terms of what you're supposed to read to your players, and it kind of gets a little confusing after a while. The book itself can be broken down into 3 sections. So you have the setup, or what's happening in the story, and then you're going to have like the maps and things like that in the middle of the book. And this is actually where you're also going to find the events that you can pull from. And then you're going to have the appendices, which is where you'll find the stats for the aliens, as well as any equipment that can be found in the scenario. Because remember, this game has kind of been sold as you don't really need the core rulebook. If you have the starter set, then that's really all you need to get going. And so I'm really glad that they kind of kept that up by having the vehicles and the equipment statted here at the end of the book for anybody who doesn't have the core rulebooks. So really cool on them. So what exactly is happening here? To understand that, we need to kind of get the complete picture. You see, the USCSS Cronus made planetfall on LV-1113 in the 26 Draconis system. Standard alien affair here. The crew were infected, and those who survived managed to discover the engineers and managed to make a very hasty cure that became known as the 26 Draconis strain. The strain arrested neomorphic growth in a human body, but had a high probability of transforming those inoculated into inhuman abominations. The Cronus managed to leave the planet, but ended up jettisoning half of the crew on the lifeboat Chiron back to LV-1113. The other half remained on the Cronus and went into cryogenic sleep, thus suspending the infection, for now. This is going to be the same vessel that comes up in the Chariot of the Gods scenario. The engineered technology the scientists discovered went off, collapsing a nearby red star, turning it into a black hole. Those who were left behind ended up mutating into a hyper-intelligent form of xenobiological life called the Perfected. 72 years later, the Cronus was discovered adrift after leaving the 26 Draconis system, and this, of course, leads to the events of the Chariot of the Gods scenario. In addition, the Erebos begins its research into a new form of protoplasmatic life forms evolved from microscopic drops of the 26 Draconis strain, and then everything goes to hell. These Hesdalian lights infected Erebos' energy core and begins turning the station into a living biomechanical beast. This station is also researching the Ablason black hole, which is what the engineer technology kind of created after destroying the red star. The PCs are tasked with getting to Erebos Station to begin their research contract. Things don't go as planned as they are forced to crash land on this station. Depending on if the pilot succeeds or fails a piloting skill check, they will crash or choose one of 3 locations. Now they are tasked with fixing their ship to detach it from the station, and they also realize that things are not what they appear. Erebos is part prison station and part research station. The prisoners are the hard labor. A prisoner by the name of Wick started a revolt when the monsters started overrunning the station. The warden, Styx, is only interested in winning his war against Wix, and there is actually some history between the two. Just like with the other scenarios, the GM has access to certain events for each act. Act 1 is pretty tame as the PCs are, hopefully, exploring the station, encountering NPCs, and looking for components to fix their ship. By the end of the act, they come across the Perfected and their Deacon pets. Act 2 begins with the PCs given a choice. Either complete the research and development of the 26 Draconis strain, or die. By the end of this act, most, if not all, of the station has been converted into the living proto-hive. It takes over the Cartagena and begins to prime its FTL drive. In the third act, the PCs are fully engaged in their personal agendas. Some really want to fulfill the Perfected's wishes, and some want to stop it. There really isn't a way out for the PCs, as an asteroid will collide with the station and send it back into the black hole unless they take control of the Cartagena's thrusters. As an aside, one of the PCs becomes aware of a UPP ship looking to dock. The ship is really trying to extract Jabakowski and Navarra. The PCs can try to reclaim that ship, but the station grows tendrils that latch onto this ship to keep it docked. Oh, and if you think nuclear explosions and radiation will damage the organic material, it really doesn't. The station absorbs any radiation and converts it into energy, although you can overfeed it and poison it that way. There's also a way to engineer a poison for the living proto-hive by using the research found on the station. In the end, the PCs might succeed in stopping the station from going into FTL, but so much has to really go right, and the PCs need to do their due diligence in exploring the station. One of the strongest aspects of this adventure is the playground the PCs get to embark on. Erebos Station is absolutely humongous, and if the players want to see everything, or if the PCs want to accomplish everything in an efficient manner, then they're going to need to split up, which can definitely add to some dramatic moments in the game. My one advice for anybody looking to run this game is to definitely take your time. Don't rush things. Let the PCs explore the station, let them encounter NPCs and interact with them, and get the tension for that anticipation up. Overall, I really enjoyed this scenario. It shares a lot in common with Chariot of the Gods, only this one kind of expands on that and gives a little bit more. There's also more at stake here. I really like the NDD rolls, so when your players look at the black hole for the first time or something like that, or as they continue exploring the station that's in close proximity of the black hole, then they're required to make these rolls that kind of reflect their deteriorating mental state. Also, there's a secret character in the form of a cat that your players can control if their character should meet an early end. This one comes highly recommended, especially if you're getting into the alien RPG. If you've done Chariot of the Gods and the Destroyer of Worlds, then this is definitely going to be the conclusion to that series of adventures. If you're just getting started in with the alien RPG line, then I would highly recommend doing Chariot of the Gods first, because that really is a much shorter and a little bit of an easier endeavor to run. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Give this video a huge thumbs up to support the series, and I will see you guys in the next video.